Hello, everybody, and welcome to this latest episode of That NextGen Planners Podcast with me, Amelia Hamilton, your head of community at NextGen Planners, and my brilliant co-hosts, Clara Metcalf and Taylor Beavis. Welcome, guys. Pleasure to be with you again, hosting a podcast together.
Hello.
We've done it before, isn't it?
Almost. It's almost like we've done it before. It feels like maybe our second rodeo. We've done a few more rodeos than that, but we shan't let them know too much. We're doing all right, I think. Help me. Someone help me.
One of my things in that rodeo analogy is just not coming.
No. That's where you're meant to jump in on the rodeo. You're meant to go, save me from my own speech.
Have nothing.
Well, okay. Shall we bring in our guest then, who definitely has a lot of very interesting things to say, so we can stop listening to my blabbering on. And we are joined by the brilliant Nila Mistry this week, who's a director at Prosperity Life Planning. Welcome to the podcast, Nila.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here and speak to you all.
So for those of you have seen Nila around, she's fairly active on social media. You'll see her posting on LinkedIn and on Instagram. She's a financial life planner and money coach. So for those who aren't as familiar maybe with the industry terminology, Nila, do you mind explaining to us actually the differences between a financial planner, a financial advisor, and what you do?
Okay. So, as a financial planner, I mean, they're pretty much the same thing. It's just the way that we work with our clients can actually create the differences. As a financial planner, we work with our clients, we understand what their goals and objectives are, and then we want to help, support them to bringing their goals to life, and then helping them create a plan and achieve those goals. And through various tools and financial planning products, we sort of help them, put all of that in place, so it gives them peace of mind and security. So that's the underlying structure of, being a financial planner. And being a financial life planner, I feel, just gives this a little more depth, because, money and finances, as you know, are real emotional subjects. And I believe that as financial planners, we don't really have the right to tell our clients what to do with their money until we truly get to know them. And I really believe that, because that's a really, for me to understand my clients and for my clients to trust me, there has to be a connection, an interchange. So one of the first things I do is actually set the scene for my clients and say, look, in order for me to do my role properly and for me to support you, I want to get to know you. I want to know all about you, what matters to you, what's important to you, what lights you up, and really understand that. And it's only, given that people are really busy on a day-to-day basis, and I'm sure you guys are too, people don't often have the time to just sit down and breathe and think, oh, what do I want? We all know what we want on the surface. We know that, we want to have nice holidays, or we want to spend time with our family, or we want to, go on more holidays. We all know all of those surface things, but really deeply, how often do we get to spend time with ourselves and sit down and think about, well, what am I worrying about? What are the things that are on my mind? So I think this space allows that to happen, so that's the sort of primary difference.
And Nila, do you have, I've looked at your website, I've done my research. It's really good. I almost wanted to.
It's in transition.
Almost wanted to have you as my advisor. And for one thing, jokes aside, that's kind of stuck out is just how warm you are on the website. So I really was keen to understand, who is your typical client? Who typically gets advice from Nila? What's your kind of niche, if you have one, and if not, generally, what have you seen?
Yeah, my practice is very small and intimate, and I've been doing this for over 30 years. So when I first graduated and I fell into this profession, a lot of my clients were a similar age to me. So, and I'm sure that's the same with you when you started the profession, 5 or 6 years ago, you had the same situation. So I think we evolve and our clients evolve with us. And as time's gone by, I'm now in my early 50s, I noticed that the type of people that I'm working with is similar to the age that I am as well. So my majority of my clients are in their, are over 50 primarily. And so I work with midlife couples, and they're usually at a stage where they've accumulated their finances and wealth up to a certain point. They've done it all by themselves. Generally, they can be creatives and they're quite astute, they're educated, and but they've got to a point where they feel really overwhelmed, and they don't know what to do with their pensions. They don't know what to do with their investments now going forward, or how it's going to support the rest of their life. So that's one category of clients that I primarily work with. I also have a passion of working with female entrepreneurs, and I don't know, there's a part of me perhaps more linked to my cultural side and the way that I've been brought up, is that I feel that women need to have a voice. I feel that women need to understand their money. I feel that they need to organize their finances better so they know exactly, what they want to do with it, how to feel empowered by it so that they can do all the things that they want to do. So as you can see, I am on my socials. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram. And that is primarily to talk to, female entrepreneurs and say, come on, look, I can really help you. You have a voice. There is a way of managing your money better. And you are absolutely, able to have your money, build and grow for you to create the freedom that you want.
You mentioned dealing with some of these female entrepreneurs and that you've got a real passion for dealing with this particular niche. Is there like a standout, I guess, client interaction that you have that you'd like to share with us, something that you think is really powerful about why you do it the way you do it and the results that has given to your clients?
I always feel that anything that I say has come from probably something from within, and an experience that I've been through. And it does resonate. Growing up, I found that I was, I think it was in my early teens, women were meant to, be in the kitchen and the men were meant to be providers. And, even my dad's ambition for me was, if I was a good cook and if I could manage the household, then I'd done my part. And my brothers, they were groomed to be providers, and they, he said, focus on your education. And I used to think, gosh, there's got to be more than this. I just didn't want to conform or be married off in that Asian sort of culture and society at the time. And there's nothing wrong with it. And I actually believe in it. However, I just knew that there was something more, that we didn't have a voice and we were meant to be really quiet. And so when I do work with women in business, or any woman really, right now I think I'm working with women ranging from the age of 27 right through till, 60 or 65. And the thing that they've struggled with is financial organization, just really organizing their day-to-day finances and how to manage it, giving it purpose. But they need to go back to why they're doing it. And I think this is the way I work with them. So I have this, so in my business, I have a power session. It's called a power strategy session. It's literally 2 hours. And what I do for the first hour, it's all about my client. It's all about what they want, what matters to them, what's really important to them. So what we do, we spend a little bit of time uncovering what their values are, what they believe in, what lights them up. And then from those values, we can start to see all their goals shining through. You think, okay, so, as an example, one of the ladies I worked with, she said that her relationship with her partner. So I said, okay, so tell me a little bit more. What does that mean to you? That relationship. She goes, well, it's really special, and we want to have more experiences. And there's a real connection between them. So what they love doing is having, they love going to 5-star Michelin restaurants for those experiences. And then they sit together, they talk about the food, the way it's created. And what that means to them is that's the love that they share between them. So when we identify that love and connection is one of their values, then all of a sudden the goals are really simple. They come through. And that's how I help them prioritize on their goals, because goals are just the vehicle, right? It's the bit in the middle, because everything that a person wants is linked to a feeling, whether it's peace of mind, whether it's financial security, whether it's joy or happiness. These are all feelings, and they can't be goals. So then we've got to work back and say, well, okay, what is it that you need to do to get to that feeling? And that becomes the sort of the driving vehicle. And that's what creates because we want our clients to feel inspired. We want them to be driven by their goals. So it's just that feeling behind all of that propels them forward. So in these power sessions, as I said, going back, I help them uncover what their values are. And like I said, because they're so busy, they don't really know what their values are. So I give them that space and grace to think about it. Then when their goals come through, it's a lot easier. And it doesn't mean that one goal is more important than the other. It's more about, okay, well, they're just as important, but which is more important to you right now in your life? And it's all about helping them be more present. And then once we've identified the goals, we start talking about, okay, so let's take it another step further. What will it mean to you to achieve that? What are the progress that you want to make? And what are the little steps that you want, to do? What's the first thing that you need to do to help you get there? So we start, the first hour is spent really, that space for them. And then the second hour, I work with a really comprehensive spreadsheet. Okay, it's really simple. It's nothing complicated. It's literally incomings and outgoings, and then working out purpose and thinking about giving their money purpose, giving every pound a purpose, and helping them understand, well, what is going in, what is coming out, understanding what their number is right now. And that number is really important, because now they know what they need to earn on a regular basis to maintain the lifestyle that they've got. And they'll also know that number represents their current lifestyle. And once they know that, they can start organizing it better. So if they do want to go on holiday each year, and that's £5,000 a year, we will know exactly how much money they need to put away per month. So, and the same thing for my client, Alex, she was able to understand that fine dining was really important to her and her partner. So we made a plan for that. And my kids come and ask me as well. They go, Mummy, I really want this. And I say, okay, you can absolutely have it. Let's just make a little plan. And I want them to understand that no matter what you want in life, there are extreme, there's lots of possibilities. The possibilities are endless. You can have it. And then it's just a question of making it happen. And I might have digressed from that conversation. I don't answer the question.
I was just focused on what you were saying. I was just taking it all in.
Brilliant.
In terms of your approach, have you always done it this way? And you said you've been doing this for 30 years. So have you always been doing it this way, or has that evolved? And I'm asking you that because I want to understand if there's a planner out there that wants to follow this approach and then start to do it that way, what they could do to make their practice better.
Yeah, I think it's as a financial planner in my 20s, I was very much guided by the company that I started working with. I think fortunately for me, back in 1992, I worked with I worked for Irish Life. So I was working as a company representative, but the director of that company was very goals focused. So, I think from the very beginning, it was always about the people. So I felt, very fortunate that, we spent a lot of time understanding what our clients wanted, what their goals were. If they wanted a car, what color was that car? Or, what make was it? How will it make them feel? So from a very early age, we did sort of, I had the opportunity of getting to know people and understanding how people's minds worked. I think in the mid-90s, I worked for Barclays Financial Management, and that was very much transactional. So we didn't have a lot of time, and that's where I did get my qualifications. So this was very much prescriptive. You see a client, you understand what their financial planning objectives are, you help them create a plan, and then create some recommendations. So I think if there's a new planner coming on, coming into the profession or already are in the profession, and they're very much in the prescriptive financial planning role, my advice would be to spend a little bit more time, maybe even the first 20 minutes, just putting aside the fact find, putting aside the piece of paper and really engaging with your client, because our clients want to be seen, heard and felt. When they come to us, they're very anxious. They've got something worrying them. And what we want to do is build that trust with them first. And all we have to do is put aside what's going on with us, because it's not about us. It's all about them. And just take a step back and just say, the questions I would ask is, what would be a really good outcome for your meeting today? How do you want to feel at the end of our session? And just let them talk. I think listening is so impactful and powerful. It's probably one of the most important tools that you can use. So I would say cast aside whether it's 20 minutes or 30 minutes as a start, just to get used to just listening to your client and letting them just unravel what it is that they're here for today. And that will be the most impactful 20 minutes that they've had.
Absolutely. And I mean, some great insight and practical tips there, actually, which I think it will be a good place to pause this conversation while we just have a quick break. Hello, this is your interval for That NextGen Planners Podcast. I hope you are enjoying the conversation we are having at the moment. If you do want to find out any more information about our brilliant community, you can head over to www.nextgenplanners.co.uk to find out loads more information about all the things that we have going on. Also, if you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can do that on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. But yeah, for now, I'll hand back over to the guys to get on with the rest of the show.
So welcome back, Nila. I've got a question that I'd like to ask you, but I'm not sure how to phrase this in a way that isn't potentially a little bit loaded. But do you think that advisors who maybe aren't trying to align or picking out their values of their clients and aligning them with the goals that they've just listed, is there a risk to advisors who aren't doing it this way?
It's a really great question, Clara. And I don't believe that there's a right or wrong, because there are some great financial planners out there, and the process works. We help our clients understand, we get to know them a little bit. We understand what their goals and objectives are, and we help them with their, the vision, the cash flow planning, the lifestyle financial planning, and then we help them craft a plan. So that process absolutely works. It's worked for years, and that's the process that we have used. However, what we can do that will create or cement more of that value piece is the relationship that you build with your client over time. So it might not have happened in the first instance, but you are then thinking, okay, well, we started working with this client, and in a year's time, we're going to have an annual review. But that year might be so far away. So much can happen in a year. So one of the things that I do in my business is that I speak to my clients every 3 to 4 months, at least every 4 months as a minimum. And, life happens, but generally that's my rule of thumb. And I'll give them a call and I will say, I was just thinking about them and you popped into my mind and I just wanted to give you a call and see how you were doing. So I do that very often. We will have maybe a 15, 20-minute conversation. They'll tell me how they're getting on. And that might spark a conversation, or in a month's time, they might call me back. So for example, one of my clients, Ernie, I did exactly the same with him. I sent him a WhatsApp message, and I said, "Hi, Ernie, how are you doing? It'd be really great to catch up. I was thinking about you recently." And he messaged me. And the message was, I need to take some money out of my pension. Can we have a catch up? So this is how our meeting went. So he told me what he wanted. I said, that's absolutely fine. Let's have a chat. 90 minutes later, he said, I don't need to take my money out of my pension. I just need to reorganize my cash flow. I said, brilliant. But in that time, what did we talk about? Well, he told me about the fact that his wife, Carol, had an accident. She'd sprained her ankle. But subsequent to that, when she came back from hospital, she had a fall and she hit her head. So she had a bleed in her brain. And so this is understanding what's going on behind what's happening with our clients' day-to-day lives can have an impact on the way they feel, their behaviors towards certain things. And all of a sudden they become, when things like that happen, you're in survival mode. You worry about the things that are not necessarily the things that you need to worry about. So he was thinking about his money. He was thinking, I want to help my children. And then it's almost like I have to fix something. So what is his natural go-to to talk about money, when in fact, really, he was just worried about his wife and making sure that, that she was okay and that she was being looked after. But often all it is, it's just a conversation to bring them back to where they are. And, and that's how you build your relationship. It's a two-way thing. Our clients need to trust us. And vice versa, we need to understand and hear them and listen to them. And that can only build over time. So I absolutely would say, don't worry about if you haven't got that relationship right now. You can absolutely have it and you can build it over time.
That's really, really interesting. As a fellow planner, I find it interesting what you just said about checking in, and exactly what I do. And it seems like every time you make a call like that, there's always something they need or want. And you think, crikey, I'm giving myself more work here. But actually, it just shows that they do need you to check in, because they are thinking about things mid-year, and they don't work on the cycle that we do annually or biannually, or however you're doing it. The question I have along similar lines in terms of, changing circumstances for clients, so kind of weaving a bit into consumer duty and vulnerability there. The way that you do things strikes me as a way that would be very beneficial and supportive for individuals going through big life-changing events. And I've seen that you do work in relation to women, men divorcing. Can you tell me a bit about that? So the unique challenges that you find in those cases, and how your approach can help them find clarity in a time where there's so much uncertainty. What do you find when you deal with that situation?
Okay. So if I understand this correctly, so if I'm working with a client, like similarly to my client, I explained, that they have challenging times. Sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to backtrack. Right?
Yeah, no, don't worry. So I guess what I mean more is, have you had a scenario with a client who, let's say somebody's going through a divorce, and has your process that you apply to get their goals set up help them take that different direction in their life and supported them on that new journey?
Yeah, no, I get it. So this is where my life planning, well, I follow the life planning methodology, and it works really well with my clients, and it's given them the confidence to make those decisions going forward. And so the only way I can explain it is I worked with a lady last year, and her and her partner had separated, and but she was always she was running her own business. Her husband was in a very secure role, so he was bringing in all the finances, and he was the main earner in the family. She felt that she wasn't in a position to make these financial decisions because she just didn't know. Her husband, told her that, well, you can't do that. You're not earning enough money. How are you going to buy your own house? How are you going to buy this house out from me? And so she had this impression that the family home is really important, and that's where the children are as well. So she was thinking, how am I going to make these decisions? But the decision to even work with me was quite tough for her. But she goes, Nila, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work with you, and because I really want to move forward. We're in this sort of stagnated position that we're still living under the same roof. We both want different things, and it's having an impact on the children, and we're both unhappy. Okay. So that was the first step. So her working with me meant that she was able to think for herself about what she wanted and what she wanted for the life of her children, but also bearing in mind her husband at the time, because she also wanted to have this co-parent facility as well. And the outcome is that she felt confident enough to be able to make a decision that she actually didn't need to buy another home. So what ended up happening was he bought the marital home, and with her share of the money, she was able to take her finances, and it was okay for her to rent, to make a different decision. And with her money, she wanted to buy an investment property where she could actually have additional income, which took the pressure off her business as well. So being able to find different possibilities was a big game changer for her, and feeling empowered to make those decisions.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting to hear you talk about all of these different case studies. And I think the main thing that is coming across for me in this conversation is passion. The way that you are talking about, relating to your clients and how you go about, doing financial planning, but more than that, how you go about relating to people, is really, really interesting to hear about. And we're so quickly running out of time. I could talk about this for ages and ages, but just as a last question, it's so clear that you have specific priorities, and that there are values that are very important to you. When setting up your own business, what were those key values, and how did you decide how many clients that you would be prepared to take on, and the amount of times that you would contact them, and be able to develop a deep relationship like that? What are those values, and how did you decide upon them?
This has evolved for me over time, and the significant point for me was back in 2017. And at the time I was working temporarily for another financial planning practice. I was in between, and I was commuting from Essex to Hertfordshire every week. My eldest, Millen, was about 9, and Layla was only 6 or 7 years old. And the constant travelling took its toll. And I felt that I couldn't prioritise my children's happiness and the balance of that time with them. And I was really unhappy, and it was going against what I believed in. So to give you some context, I experienced about 4 miscarriages before I had Millen, and then another one before I had my daughter. And so I knew that my kids were really important to me, and I wanted to be there for them without feeling guilty or embarrassed. And the firm that I was working for they didn't make me feel that way. However, the actions definitely made me feel that, that I wasn't good enough and that I shouldn't be bringing up my children in the way that I was. So that's when I decided to set up Prosperity Life Planning. In 2018, I wanted to have an environment for me that allowed time freedom, time to be there for, my children when they needed me. I wanted time to travel up to Leicester because my parents are getting older, and the flexibility to take a day off. And, I'm not a massively morning person when it comes to, so my client meetings, I don't start them till 10 or 10:30. And I like to have some time to myself in the morning, whether that's to train or go for a run or anything like that. And by having control over my schedule, I wanted to align my career to my values. And so I'm not out there to make a massively, a big firm. I look after 30 client families. I'd like to grow that to not more than 40 or 50. So that gives me the right balance. And, this setup has allowed me to prioritize, the things that I care about. I love my time in the mornings. Do you know what? I'm passionate about just conversations. One of my needs creeds that I need to have in my day is to have a meaningful conversation in the day. And if I have that, then that's my inner candle of happy completely lit. And freedom. Anything that I've done has always been from a point of freedom. Ever since I was 12 years old, I just wanted the freedom not to have an arranged marriage. I wanted the freedom to choose who I wanted to marry, and, have the freedom to travel, have the freedom to do all the things that my parents wanted my brothers to do. So, so I just want to continue running my practice the way that I do, being able to have, connected conversations with my clients, and just create that supportive, flexible environment. So, my clients can contact me whenever they want, and if I want to spend time with my kids, then I'm just there for them. And I love working from home. I absolutely love it. I can't,
it seems like the absolute definition of practice, what you preach, the way that you're relating to clients and working out what is important to you. What are you prioritizing? How do we build a life that's best for you? You've clearly gone, well, why are we only thinking about that, about our clients? Surely it's equally, if not more important to have that for myself as well, in order to be able to be there for other people in that way. So it was, thank you so much for sharing
very welcome
of that and those experiences. I think it will, hopefully inspire a lot of people to start thinking in that way too. Definitely me. I don't know about you guys over there.
I thought it was great. It was almost like you had been on the journey yourself, and then you're now helping your clients do a similar thing. Loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Thank you so much for coming on our podcast and sharing all of that. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. It's been lovely, of course, to talk to Taylor and Clara again on another episode. Thank you to everybody else for listening.